Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWA Sunday NFL Week 8. Gonna go through 6 or 7 games in this video. Live stream is back, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all of them. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. As far as college football Saturday, I had a profitable day, so there's good news. It's always good news when you finish the day with more money in your accounts than when you started. It wasn't much. It was like 0.4 units, but hey, winning week. We'll take it. Hopefully we can follow that up with a profitable NFL Sunday. Although I think I only have like 5 bets open right now. Tough NFL Sunday in terms of finding some edges. So yeah, let's get into it. I mean, it's Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points?
I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Panthers at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. New York football Jets on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Talking Jets football again. Always a pleasure talking about the Jets. But we'll start with Cincinnati. Let's give them a shout out. They got it done. Thursday night football. I think most of us in the group had Cincinnati too. I know it was a pretty popular pick. What a game. Joe Flacco got it done. Bengals defense didn't look all that great, but electric Thursday night football game. Cincinnati snapped a 4-game losing streak. 33-31 win. Huge win over their division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it looks like Joe Flacco immediately makes the Bengals offense better than the Jake Browning version, based on what we've seen the last couple games. Certainly looks a lot better. I got to say, though, starting with the Bengals defense, the concern for Cincinnati's defense is still there. Let's not pretend it was a huge win. Let's not pretend that the Bengals defense looked sharp in that game. Pittsburgh averaged 7.4 yards per carry in the game. 7.4. So, yeah, Cincinnati's defense did not look good. The offense looked great. The defense did not look good at all. I mean, the Steelers aren't even a dominant rushing attack. 7.4 yards per carry, 50% success rate per rush. I mean, let's be honest. This is still probably one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I mean, on the season, they're 31st in success rate, 29th in EPA per play. In terms of the front seven, Cincinnati completely shut down the Browns on the ground in week 1. 2.04 yards per carry, 20.8% success rate per rush, just 49 rushing yards. The Bengals opened up the season with a dominant defensive performance against the Browns run game. They've pretty much gotten steamrolled on the ground in every game since then. Since then, they've played 6 football games. They're allowing over 5.2 yards per carry, over 46% success rate per rush, over 152 rushing yards per game. So this defensive front is still terrible. This is still a very bad run defense. So the question becomes, is this Jets offense able to capitalize it? Well, the Jets offense is going through something right now. In case you haven't heard, it's been quite a while since they've scored a touchdown. 127 minutes and 56 seconds of NFL game clock has passed since the Jets scored a touchdown. The Jets have not scored a touchdown since the Dallas game. Back-to-back games with 0 touchdowns. So we could sit here and point our fingers at the Bengals defense. Jets offense doesn't look all that great, but all the Jets offense does is run the ball. They're second in the NFL in rushing frequency, and in the last 2 games, the rushing numbers have come down a little bit for the Jets, just 3.4 yards per carry, success rate per rush under 24%. These rushing numbers look bad in their last 2 games. They played Denver and Carolina. I mean, those are probably 2 of the top 3 or 4 run defenses in the NFL. I know Carolina, a top run defense, is crazy. They're actually first in the NFL in success rate per rush right now. So Carolina's been playing great defense against the run. Denver, we know, is an elite defense. So they play back-to-back elite defensive. Well, calling Carolina's defensive front elite might be a stretch, but based on the numbers so far from this year, they look pretty elite. In the first 5 games, they were averaging 5.4 yards per carry, over 144 rushing yards per game. So, I mean, why can't the Jets run the ball in this terrible Cincinnati defensive front? I mean, it looks like Breece Hall's going to play, by the way. He participated in a full practice without limitation. So it looks like Breece Hall's going to play. The offensive line is completely healthy. And speaking of the Jets' offensive line, I mean, they haven't been that bad in terms of creating space in the run game. They're 17th in run blocking grade, 9th in yards before contact. There's not many football games that we look at and say, oh, this Jets offensive line is definitely going to win the battle up front. But this might be one of these games. The Bengals defensive line is getting blown off the line of scrimmage. The Jets offensive line actually has generated some push. So, I mean, why can't the Jets run the ball in this game? I very well think the Jets will run the ball in this game.
Real quick update. So I'm about to talk about the Bengals pass rush against the Jets, and I recorded this and then Tyrod Taylor was ruled out right after, and I didn't feel like re-recording the whole thing. So obviously, Tyrod Taylor is ruled out. Justin Fields is starting. It was recorded right before that was announced.
And in terms of Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, whoever it's going to be, from what I'm reading, it sounds like it's going to be Tyrod Taylor, but the Aaron Glenn is playing it close to the chest. He said it gives his team an advantage that Cincinnati doesn't know which quarterback to prepare for, which actually makes sense. Coaches do that. So I said that tongue in cheek, but that's a legitimate strategy that is used. No need to make fun of Aaron Glenn right now. So we don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the Jets. In case you didn't watch last week, Justin Fields was benched at halftime. Aaron Glenn said they needed a spark, and honestly, Tyrod Taylor threw a couple of interceptions late in the game, but I think the Jets offense did look slightly better with Tyrod Taylor, and Jets fans cheered when Tyrod Taylor took the field, which is on brand for Jets fans, the type of things that Jets fans do. But the point I'm making is whoever the Jets quarterback is going to be in this game should have room to work. This Bengals pass rush hasn't been very good. They don't blitz a lot at all. They haven't generated consistent pressure. So whoever is going to be playing quarterback should have some room to work. I'm going to use the word should, because last week they played Carolina, who doesn't have a good pass rush. Up until that point, in the first 6 games of the season, the Panthers had 5 combined sacks. They had 6 sacks against the Jets alone. So just because the Bengals pass rush has struggled to generate pressure so far this season doesn't necessarily mean they won't be able to generate pressure against the Jets, because we just saw the Panthers have 6 sacks. But we don't know if Trey Hendrickson is going to be playing for Cincinnati in this one. He's listed as questionable. He did miss Friday's practice too. So if Trey Hendrickson isn't on the field, it's tough to envision this Bengals defensive front doing much of anything. So yeah, I think the Jets are going to be able to run the ball, and it's tough to rely on the Jets passing attack without Garrett Wilson out there, but and their current quarterback situation. But this Bengals defense is so bad. I think the Jets are going to move the ball in this one. The question is on the other side of the ball. How good do we think this Bengals offense is with Joe Flacco? And what do we really think of the Jets defense right now? On the season, Cincinnati 17th in success rate, 25th in EPA per play. Obviously, the season-long numbers for Cincinnati, I mean, take them or leave them. Joe Burrow played for a game. Jake Browning played a few. Flacco's played 2. So we've kind of gone through different chapters for this Bengals offense. The Jets defense actually has done a decent job getting off the field. They've allowed some big plays, though. 4th in success rate, 27th in EPA per play. We'll start with Cincinnati's offense, though. No question, it's been more efficient with Joe Flacco. You didn't need me to tell you that. Through the first 5 games, and this includes the Joe Burrow game against Cleveland, 4.9 yards per play, just 17 points per game. In their last 2 with Joe Flacco starting, 25.5 points per game, over 6.1 yards per play, over 55%. Success rate is excellent. This Bengals offense moving the chains. And remember, I was talking about this last week when I picked Cincinnati against the Steelers. This Bengals offense might be a little bit undervalued due to the fact that they've played so many strong defenses so far this year. This is such a gauntlet of a schedule. You got at Cleveland, then you played Jacksonville, and by the way, they scored 31 points and won that game. So you played Jacksonville, they scored 31 points. At Minnesota, at Denver, Detroit, at Green Bay. This team has played a lot of strong defenses. So, and I mean, the Steelers, it's not like that's a picnic of a game. So this Bengals offense might be a little bit undervalued, regardless of the quarterback, just for the simple fact that they've played so many strong defenses. I think we have every reason to be confident with this Cincinnati offense right now. And in this matchup in particular, the Jets are 30th in the NFL in passer rating allowed via short passes. Did you watch the game Thursday night? Joe Flacco to Jamar Chase underneath was kind of the go-to play. He had like 78 targets in the game. Now, he had 16 catches, but Joe Flacco just dumping it off to Jamar Chase. They were pretty comfortable running those types of plays. Those Jamar Chase 4 to 6 yard routes should be there all game against the Jets. And in addition to that, I mean, Cincinnati might be able to give Joe Flacco some run support. Where did this come from? Through the first 3 games, Cincinnati was averaging 2.4 yards per carry, 49 rushing yards per game as a team. In the last 4, 5.3 yards per carry, over 48% success rate per rush. Those are extremely efficient rushing numbers. It's not just one game. We're talking about 4 games now. Now, Cincinnati is still a passing offense, so we're still only talking about 87 rushing yards per game. They don't run it a whole lot. But recently, when they've handed it off, it's been efficient. In fact, I don't have it in front of me. I'm pretty sure Chase Brown averaged like 10 yards per carry against the Steelers. So out of nowhere, Cincinnati's running the ball efficiently too. So against the Jets defense dealing with the injuries they're dealing with, Cincinnati should be able to give Flacco some run support as well. So I expect the Jets to run the football and score some points against this terrible Bengals defense. I expect Cincinnati to score points right back. Combine that with the fact that both these teams run a pretty decent pace in terms of seconds between snaps. The Jets are 12th, the Bengals are 6th. Can I interest you in an over? I got a good number. I'm on 43.5. It looks like it's 44.5 across the board. 44 is a key number, but I'd still play the over. I'd play this anything 46 or lower. So yeah, I bet this one. I'm on the over. I'm on over 43.5. 49ers are on the road down at Houston. You've got two teams basically coming off complete opposite performances. San Francisco, obviously dealing with injuries. They played a Falcons team that had been looking pretty dangerous. They completely handled that game start to finish. They won the line of scrimmage battle on both sides of the ball. They got McCaffrey into space. Mac Jones didn't have the biggest day throwing the ball, but it was a complete victory for San Francisco in that one against a Falcons team I think we all regard to be pretty good. Meanwhile, Houston, they had back-to-back blowout wins, then a bye week, then they go on the road to Seattle. That would have been a statement win. They would have moved to 3-3 with a big road win over a good Seattle team. It was a good spot coming off a bye. They looked terrible in that game. Well, the offense looked terrible. The defense actually played pretty well and forced a bunch of turnovers. But, yeah, the Houston Texans offense looked broken in that game. Remember, the defense scored a touchdown on a fumble recovery. The offense did not score 19 points. The offense scored 12. In fact, I don't think the offense even scored a touchdown in that game until the final few minutes. So, yeah, it was not a great performance for Houston. But like I said, that loss is most definitely not on the defense. This Texans defense has been pretty damn good this year. They're 6th in success rate, 1st in EPA per play. And this is a particularly interesting matchup. We're talking about DeMeco Ryans against his old team in San Francisco, his old head coach in Shanahan, his old mentor in Robert Saleh. Now, Ryans coaches the defense, so he's not exactly coaching against Saleh directly. But yeah, this is a very interesting matchup. If there's a defensive coach in the league that probably has a good idea how to slow Kyle Shanahan's offense down, I would imagine it would be DeMeco Ryans. And the tools he has on this Houston defense, I think they're built perfectly to stop what San Francisco is going to be doing. We know what San Francisco wants to do. They want to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey in space. It's not rocket science. We all know that's what San Francisco wants to do with the current injuries, with the current version of the offense they have on the field. And DeMeco Ryans might have exactly the tools he needs to take that away. First of all, they're capable of generating pressure without sending extra rushers. They're 6th in pressure rate, 11th in time to pressure, and just 24th in blitz rate. So they generate pressure using their front four. We know Mac Jones has struggled with pressure so far this year. And remember, the 49ers are dealing with key injuries on this side of the ball. You didn't need me to tell you that. No Brandon Ayuk, no Ricky Pearsall. They're also going to be missing their center in this one. And let's not pretend that Mac Jones was dangerous throwing the football last week. He had 152 yards, a passer rating under 65. 72 of those 152 yards went to Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was basically the entire offense last week. And Houston's front seven, they've got speedy linebackers. They've got a lot of athleticism in the front seven. With the current injuries to the 49ers offense, you have to imagine that no one really scares them on the outside. I think DeMeco Ryans can afford to be extremely aggressive here, taking Christian McCaffrey out of the game. Now, obviously, it's Christian McCaffrey. They're not going to be able to completely neutralize him. He's one of the best playmakers in the NFL. But, I mean, this San Francisco run game hasn't been very good this year. I mean, they ran the ball efficiently last week against Atlanta. 4.8 yards per carry, 45.9% success rate per rush, 176 yards on the ground. But up until that game, San Francisco has had problems running the ball. Christian McCaffrey's having a monster year statistically. It's not all on the ground. A lot of it's coming through the air. Through their first 6 games as a team, the 49ers are averaging 3.2 yards per carry, 83.2 rushing yards per game. So this 49ers rushing attack as a whole hasn't been very good. So, look, it's McCaffrey. He's going to break a couple plays. He's that good. But this Houston defense is very strong, and I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to consistently run the ball in this game. Like I said before, I think DeMeco Ryans can afford to be extremely aggressive, taking McCaffrey out of the game. You know where Houston has been really strong? Against the short pass. 4th in the NFL in passer rating allowed via short passes. That's where Mac Jones loves to throw it. 50% of his pass attempts this year have been short passes. So Houston's going to flood the line of scrimmage. They're going to have multiple sets of eyes on Christian McCaffrey at all times. If San Francisco wants to score in this game, we might need to see Mac Jones throw the ball down the field. And is he capable of doing it? Maybe, but remember, they're limited at wide receiver with the injuries, and Houston does have some talent in the secondary. And so far, Mac Jones this season, a 53-1 passer rating on deep throws. So the question is, do you trust Mac Jones to make those throws downfield? Because I would imagine Houston, and what we've seen from their defense so far, and D'Amico Ryans made a couple quotes about taking Christian McCaffrey out of the game as a priority. I would imagine they're practically going to dare Mac Jones to throw the ball downfield. I don't think they're scared of those wide receivers. So it comes down to, do you trust them to make those downfield throws or not? And Mac Jones isn't bad. Maybe he makes a couple of them, but I think it's hard to rely on San Francisco giving us a consistent downfield passing attack with the current weapons they have. Now, on the other side of the ball, though, this is where San Francisco has the huge advantage. I know you look at this graphic, it doesn't look like the 49ers defense has been very good this year. They're 25th in success rate, 16th in EPA per play. But number one, they're playing Houston, who, man, the Texans offense looks broken. Number two, the 49ers defensive numbers are a little bit skewed from two really tough road games where they kind of got carved up at Tampa, at the Rams. In those two games, they allowed 7.5 yards per play, 26.5 points per game, 60% success rate. They had two really rough defensive games. In their other 5 games, the 49ers are allowing 17 points per game, 5 yards per play, which is very, very good. Now, the success rate is a little bit concerning, but we've seen kind of a bend, don't break defense here from the 49ers. Teams are moving the chains, but they're shoring up in the red zone. They're only allowing 17 points per game in their other 5. So this 49ers defense, I know the lead story is they're missing Warner, they're missing Bosa, right? They're missing their 2 best defensive players, but they're extremely well coached. Remember, it's Shanahan, it's Saleh. This is a good coaching staff with a history of putting out some really well coached teams. So this defense is really well coached, and that Falcons offense is looking pretty dangerous. 49ers held them to 10 points last week, 5.2 yards per play. So San Francisco's defense, I think, is a little bit undervalued. Like I said, they're extremely well coached. So do we expect C.J. Stroud to be able to make throws in this game? Well, one thing San Francisco has struggled with, which is huge if you're betting Houston in this one, they've struggled to generate pressure for most of this season. Remember, there's no Bosa. They're also missing Bryce Huff, their other edge rusher. So the 49ers are missing both their edge rushers in this game, and this has not been a good pass rush for most of the year. That's especially significant in this matchup because, as we know, from multiple years, not just this year, C.J. Stroud does struggle with pressure. He does struggle with blitz packages, but when he's given a clean pocket, that's when he can be dangerous. If you give him a clean pocket to work with, he can make the throws. He's got a lot of arm talent. So if you're on Houston in this one, I'm assuming that's part of what you're looking at, a hobbled 49ers pass rush that hasn't really been very good all year. C.J. Stroud with clean pockets. You like that if you're betting Houston in this one. Another thing you like if you're on Houston in this game is the fact that this game is at home in Houston. This is another one that multiple years now, C.J. Stroud always more reliable at home in Houston. That's been the case his entire career. Hasn't changed this season. In his 2 home games, he's got a passer rating over 111. And look at the clean pocket rating. Excellent passer rating when given a clean pocket. So, all right, maybe the table's set for C.J. Stroud to have an efficient day throwing the ball. The problem is, and it's the same problem we keep repeating, Nico Collins is out in addition to the other wide receivers. Collins, Kirk, Tank Dell has been out for a while. The top 3 Houston Texans receivers are out for this game, which means they're going to need big performances out of Higgins and Noel, both rookies. So, yeah, they're very thin at wide receiver. I will say, though, it's not like the 49ers secondary is loaded with Pro Bowlers. I mean, we don't even know if Lenore is going to play. Remember, Charvarius Ward isn't even there anymore. Hufanga, the safety, he's not there anymore. This 49ers defense, with the current injuries, there's not a ton... I don't want to say there's not a ton of talent on it. That might not be fair. But I would describe the 49ers defense as well coached. They're not exactly loaded with Pro Bowlers. So just because Noel and Higgins need to step up at wide receiver, I don't necessarily think that's out of the question. I don't know if you ever watched those guys play. They were both on Iowa State last year. They're very talented. So I don't think it's crazy that those guys are able to step up at home. But does that necessarily mean we can count on this Houston offense to consistently move the ball? Because I don't trust this unit at all. I don't trust the offensive line. I don't trust the run game. I like the coaching staff over there in San Francisco. I thought that defense was so impressive last week against Atlanta. So despite there being a couple favorable matchups here for C.J. Stroud, I still don't think I can rely on the Texans to consistently move the ball in the game. I'm sure he'll make a couple throws, but I still think the 49ers defense can play well here, which is why I think the move in this one would be the under at 42.5. A little concerning that Kyle Shanahan tends to run at a faster pace. They're actually 5th in the NFL in seconds between snaps so far this year. But I really think Houston could play a great defensive game in this one. Like I said before, I think they have the perfect tools to take Christian McCaffrey out of the game and force Mac Jones to make downfield throws. I think Houston's going to play a great defensive game here. And I think they will dictate the tempo at home more so than the 49ers, and they're 26th in pace. So I think we're going to see a low-scoring one here. Give me under 42.5. I kind of think the Texans are going to win, but no, it's minus 2.5 now. I mean, I could see if you got on Houston early at a pick, but no, I'm not laying 2.5. The Texans, tell me that's not a 2019 final score type of team. So no, I'm not laying 2.5. Give me under 42.5 in this one. Giants, Eagles in Philadelphia. Eagles get their shot to get revenge for a couple weeks back. We all remember what happened. That was in week 6, Thursday night football. Philly goes on the road to MetLife, and the Giants beat them up, man. And that was not a fluke. The Giants won the line of scrimmage battle on both sides of the ball. They ran the ball. Jackson Dart played well. I mean, we do have to acknowledge it was an absolute perfect spot for the Giants. I mean, they prepped 2 weeks for that game. They even rested Dexter Lawrence for some snaps in the Saints game before that. I mean, that was the Super Bowl for the Giants, and it was a short week at home. But let's give credit to the Giants. That was awesome. Oh, and obviously Jalen Carter didn't play in the game. Quinyon Mitchell, one of the Eagles' best DBs, he left the game early. So it was kind of the perfect storm there for the Giants to win, but it was an impressive win. Now, when I originally talked about this game on the live stream, I said I'd like the Eagles at a flat 7, and not that has changed, but since then, A.J. Brown and Cam Jurgens have been ruled out, so the Eagles are missing a couple of starters on the offensive side of the ball. Giants defense is missing some starters as well, though. Holland, the safety, and Adebo, the corner. So 2 pieces of the secondary missing this one for the Giants. Brian Burns also on the injury report listed as questionable. He missed a couple practices this week. That would be huge. He's one of the best players on the He's one of the best defensive players in the entire league. So Giants defense has some injury concerns as well. Look, in terms of this matchup, the Eagles offense against the Giants defense, Philadelphia should be able to run the ball in this Giants defense. They should. I mean, the Giants defense, they're 28th in success rate per rush, dead last in EPA per rush on the season. They weren't able to in week 6. They had just 73 yards rushing, 3.7 yards per carry, 35% success rate per rush in the game. So they were not able to run the ball in this Giants defense back in week 6. But the Giants defense, they've basically been run on in every single other one of their games. I mean, outside of the Saints. The Saints didn't really run the ball on them. But in their other 6 games, and this includes the Saints, they're allowing 5.7 yards per carry, over 141 rushing yards per game, 46.7% success rate per rush. So this Giants defense has really struggled against the run. Yes, they were able to limit the Eagles on the ground on the short week in their Super Bowl. Now, the Eagles' run game having all kinds of problems, so maybe it wasn't a fluke, but I think the Eagles at home, the team that just beat them, I think the Eagles will be able to run the ball. I mean, we've seen bad offenses run the ball on this Giants defense, so I do think Philadelphia will be able to run it in this game. In terms of Jalen Hurts, he's playing very well. I mean, his last 5 games, he's got a 115.4 passer rating, 249 passing yards per game. He's actually been experiencing some pressure. Some of it's his doing. He tends to hold on to the football for a while, but he's been seeing a lot of pressure. He's handling the pressure really well. 98.2 passer rating under pressure in the last 5 games. And I mean, he's seen the Rams, the Bucks, the Broncos, the Vikings have a good pass defense, the Giants. So he's seen some tough defenses. Jalen Hurts is playing well right now. And with the Giants missing 2 pieces of the secondary, even without A.J. Brown, I think the Eagles will be able to throw it as well. I mean, look, they have time to prepare for this one. The team just beat them. They're at home. I think the Eagles offense is going to be ready for this one. I think they can run it. I think they can throw it. I think the Eagles are going to move the ball in this game. On the other side of the ball, this is where it's a little more uncertain because how good is this new Giants offense? I don't think we really know yet. Now, their season-long numbers, who cares, right? 19th and 18th, who cares? Because obviously there's a new era of Giants offense since making the quarterback change. The Eagles defense, 23rd in success rate, 17th in EPA per play on the year. Now, the Giants offense, since making the quarterback change to Jackson Dart, they're averaging 25.3 points per game, 5.4 yards per play, success rate over 50%. No question, this offense looks good. The Denver game was quite a statement because going into the Denver game, I was looking at the game logs, and first you have the Chargers. The Giants offense didn't exactly light it up in the Chargers game. It was a nice win, but Giants offense didn't set the world on fire. And if you remember at the time, the Chargers were giving up like 30 points per game. They were getting lit up by the Dolphins. The Chargers defense looked terrible. So you had the Chargers. After that, they played the Saints, where they turned the ball over 5 times. I mean, the Saints, it's one of the worst teams in the NFL. Then you played the Eagles in their Super Bowl on a short week, where just the most advantageous position ever for the Giants. So coming into the Denver game, it was like, all right, do we think this offense is good or not? Because they've kind of been placed in some favorable positions. Well, they played a good offensive game on the road in Denver. So maybe that silences everything. Maybe, hey, this Giants offense with Jackson Dart at quarterback is good. I'm personally a little skeptical. Jackson Dart played extremely well in week 6 against this Philadelphia defense, a 104.6 passer rating, 195 yards. Let's give him some credit. He played well against this Eagles defense. The more I look at it, the more I'm thinking that might have been a little bit of a fluke. Check this out. So the Eagles defense, in terms of opponent passer rating, so the Eagles pass defense numbers, that game against Jackson Dart was their worst game of the year. That, what did he have? A 104.6? Yeah, that 104.6 passer rating, the worst they've allowed all year. In their other 6 games, the Eagles are allowing just 6.6 yards per pass attempt, an average opponent passer rating of 78.7. They saw Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, Baker Mayfield. So they've seen quarterbacks that we all perceive to be better than Jackson Dart and played much better. So I kind of think that game against Philadelphia, maybe fluke isn't the correct word because it makes it sound like I'm disrespecting. Like, he's clearly talented, and Giants fans have every reason to be excited. I'm just saying I don't think he can repeat that performance. It was a short week. The Eagles had no Jalen Carter. Quinyon Mitchell left the game early. It was at home. Now they go to Philadelphia against an Eagles pass defense that hasn't allowed that type of passer rating all year, including names that are much better than Jackson Dart. So I don't think he can repeat that performance. Now, as far as running the ball, Scottaboo with Andrew Thomas healthy at left tackle. Clearly, the Giants have a nice little physical run game there, but Jalen Carter's playing in this game. So I doubt the Eagles' defensive line is going to get bullied again like they did in Week 6 on the road in MetLife on a short week without their best defensive player. So, yeah, I think the Eagles get right here. Problem is, I think 7.5 is about the right number. So I would need a flat 7 to even consider betting it. I do think the Eagles are able to hold on to the football for long stretches here, 6-7 minute drives. I think they'll control the game. I could see Jackson Dart throwing a bad pick in this one, trying to do too much. So yeah, I think the Eagles win comfortably. I would need a flat 7 though. It's at 7.5. Maybe there'll be a juice 7 at some point. Not crazy about it. I'll say Eagles -7. Bears, Ravens in Baltimore. I don't even want to talk about this game. I bet Ravens -6. Like, obviously, there's no Lamar Jackson, so that bet's underwater. We can go through the reasons of why I like the matchup for the Ravens real quick. So the Ravens offense, we kind of forgot how dominant this run game is. And I think a reason, well, obviously, Cooper Rush started a couple of the games, and that'll certainly skew our view of the Ravens offense. But in addition to that, they also played a lot of really strong run defense. They played Cleveland. That's probably the best run defense in the NFL. They played Detroit, who's looking elite defensively. They played Houston, top 5 or 6 defense in the NFL. They played the Rams, another great defense. In those games, 2 of those games, Cooper Rush started as well. They were held to 3.8 yards per carry, under 90 rushing yards per game, under 30% success rate per rush. So those 4 games are kind of skewing the numbers here. The only 2 times Baltimore has played a defense that's not a top 10 run defense, Buffalo and Kansas City, they averaged 8.8 yards per carry, 202 rushing yards per game. In case you've forgotten, the Bears cannot stop the run. They did keep the New Orleans Saints from running on them, but the New Orleans Saints can't run on anybody. They held the Saints to 2.6 yards per carry, 44 rush yards. In their first 5 games of the season, they were getting run on by everybody, and that includes the Raiders, who can't run the ball at all. They were allowing 5.7 yards per carry, over 156 rushing yards per game. This is not a good run defense, and they're going on the road to Baltimore. The offensive line's healthy. Derrick Henry is looking to make a statement game. This is the one. I think Baltimore's going to hand the ball off, and there's not a damn thing the Bears defense can do to stop it. Now, obviously, I thought Lamar Jackson was playing when I made the bet, and not having Lamar Jackson, yeah, that changes everything. I will say, in terms of Cooper Rush, the Bears might be a defense he can make some throws on, though. They send blitzes, but they don't really work. They don't generate a ton of pressure. So maybe Cooper Rush can even make some throws on this Bears defense. I don't think this Bears defense is good at all. Remember the Washington game? They got up to a 13-0 lead. Washington gifted them 2 or 3 turnovers early, and they got up to a 13-0 lead. From that point on, they could not stop Washington. I was on Bears plus 5.5 in that one. I sweat every minute of that game. Washington dominated the game from that point on, and we've seen Washington look pedestrian as hell since then. I don't think this Bears defense is good. And look, obviously, no Lamar Jackson, that changes everything. But I do think the Ravens can run the ball on this Bears defense easily. And on the other side, I think it's the ultimate buy low for the Ravens defense. Obviously, on paper, it's looking like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Not only did they get off to a slow start, but they had serious injuries. 30th in success rate, 31st in EPA per play. But if you remember, the Ravens defense got off to a super slow start last year. They were the worst pass defense in the NFL the first 6 or 7 weeks of the year last year. And then they just turned it on, and the Ravens were one of the best defenses in the NFL after that. So I think we're seeing the Ravens defense just start off slow again. Now, there's injuries to the defensive front. There's other factors here with the Baltimore defense. But week 6 against the Rams, we might have already seen this Baltimore defense start to turn the corner. The Rams are a very good offense. They held them to 5.5 yards per play, just 17 points in the game. And this is in a game where Cooper Rush was just gifting the Rams the ball back instantly every single possession. So we might have already seen this Ravens defense turn the corner. There's still a lot of talent in this defense. There's a lot of talent in the secondary. Chicago, not exactly a run game that scares you. Roquan Smith didn't even play in the Rams game. He is now back. So the Ravens defense is healthier than they've been in weeks. I think the Ravens defense can play a good game. I still think there's a path to me covering my bet. Obviously, it's underwater. It's a terrible bet at this point, but I still think the Ravens are going to win the game, so give me Baltimore. Dolphins are on the road in Atlanta, and good news for the Falcons is a home game against the Dolphins defense is the perfect opportunity to bounce back offensively. After what was a pretty disappointing game. I mean, they were held to 10 points. They were sustaining drives. They had a 48.3% success rate, but were unable to finish them, just 5.2 yards per play in the game. Now, obviously, the lead story with the Falcons offense is Michael Penix Jr. It's actually looking like he's not going to play. I'm reading Kirk Cousins. It's not just he's questionable. I'm reading Kirk Cousins is expected to play. So it looks like we are going to see Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Also, Drake London listed as questionable as well. The thing is, we got to keep in mind that Atlanta is a run-first offense. They're 4th in the NFL in rushing frequency on the season, and this Dolphins defense just can't stop anybody. It's one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They're 29th in success rate, 32nd in EPA per play. The Falcons' offensive line is completely healthy. They've done a great job this year of generating push in the run game. Miami's defense, dead last in explosive run play percentage allowed. This is the perfect matchup for Bijan Robinson on paper. And the Falcons' offensive line, they're coming off their worst game of the season on the road in San Francisco. They really got bullied up front. So you know they're getting chewed out watching film all week. This is an offensive line that's done a great job this year. So they should have no problems creating space for Bijan Robinson on the ground here. Now, this Dolphins defense is slightly healthier. Storm Duck is back. I don't think he's played. I think he's been out since week 1 or 2. They've been dealing with minor injuries throughout the year. So this Dolphins defense in terms of injuries is actually in pretty good shape. But the truth is, they've just been so bad. I mean, going on the road to Atlanta against an offense coming off a pretty disappointing game, a primetime loss. I just don't know how we can count on Miami's defense to make stops in this one. I mean, even if it is Kirk Cousins and even if Drake London doesn't play. And by the way, speaking of Kirk Cousins, I mean, how big of a drop-off do we really think this is? It's not like Penix is setting the world on fire this year. Remember, Kirk Cousins was starting over Penix last season. I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is better than Michael Penix Jr., nothing like that. I'm just saying if we're trying to evaluate the drop-off from Penix to Kirk Cousins right now, not in the future, not in the rest of the season, not next year, but right now, how big is the drop-off? I mean, Penix has an 86.8 passer rate. I don't think it's that big of a drop-off, and it looks like the market agrees. So, yeah, I'm not really too worried about Michael Penix being out for this game. For this particular game against this defense where the Falcons should have no problems running the ball, I'm really not too worried about Kirk Cousins at quarterback. It's the other side of the ball. This is where I'm actually a little bit worried for Atlanta. So I guess the question we have to ask is this a potential bounce back for the Miami offense? Obviously, the Dolphins offense last week was practical joke, laugh out loud bad. 4.8 yards per play, 26.4% success rate. It doesn't get much uglier than that in an NFL game. I got to say, though, this was probably the most unfavorable position the Dolphins could possibly be in. If you asked me to paint a picture, say, Kyle, what do you think the most nightmare situation would be for the Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel? I would say, probably on the road in Cleveland with an injured offensive line in bad weather. That's probably what my response would have been if I was to paint the most nightmarish position for the Dolphins to be in. So, look, I'm not trying to excuse the Dolphins' terrible offensive game. I'm just saying Tua's always struggled in bad weather. The offensive line's a mess. The overall point I'm making is I think we can all agree that Miami's offense is not this bad. So is this a potential bounce back spot for Miami offensively? Now, the Falcons do play indoors in Mercedes-Benz, so that's a solid. You know, an indoor stadium is definitely more suited for Mike McDaniel's offense. Unfortunately, though, this offensive line is still a mess. The same 3 starters are still out, which is not new. They've been out pretty much the entire season. Now, Darren Waller joins Tyreek Hill as far as receiving weapons that are out. Waller's been huge for them. And in addition to Darren Waller, their second tight end is Julian Hill. He's out as well. So they're down to their 3rd string tight end. Yeah, it's definitely a tough scene here for the Dolphins offensively. Some key injuries on this side of the ball. Now, Atlanta's defense is dealing with some injuries as well, and these are new. Diablo has been ruled out for this game. He's been excellent at linebacker for the Falcons so far this year. Billy Bowman Jr. is also going to miss this game. Zach Harrison on the defensive line is in danger of missing it as well. So the Falcons defense has some injury concerns themselves, and this is a Falcons defense. I mean, you look at their year-long numbers against the run, it's concerning. 31st in success rate, 21st in EPA per rush. Now, the Dolphins offense, you look at their numbers on the year, it doesn't look pretty at all. But if you actually take a look at the game logs for the Dolphins offense, so check this out. They actually played 3 games against what might be 3 top 5 run defenses here. The Patriots lead against the run. The Panthers, I think, lead the NFL in success rate per rush. And the Browns, probably the best run defense in the NFL. You could probably make an argument that those are the 3 best run defenses in the NFL. The Dolphins have played all 3 of them. If you look at their rushing numbers from their other 4 games, they ran the ball in all 4 of those games against the Colts, the Bills, the Jets, the Chargers. 5.3 yards per carry, 117 rushing yards per game, over 40% success rate per rush. So you look at the year-long numbers, and it doesn't look like the Dolphins can run the ball. But actually, if you just take out the 3 games they played against top 5 run defenses, the Dolphins have been running the ball. I mean, Achan's probably the bright spot, or maybe the only bright spot on the entire team right now. And this Falcons run defense, it doesn't really seem to be getting better. Look at their last 3 games. They're allowing over 5.5 yards per carry, over 44% success rate per rush, over 152 rushing yards allowed per game. So is it crazy to suggest that Achan's going to be able to run the ball against this Falcons defense, especially without Diablo out there? I think the Dolphins might be able to run the ball a little bit in this game. Now, as far as Tua, look, we know the Falcons are going to be sending blitzes because that's what the Falcons do. They blitz as much, if not more, than any other defense in the NFL. Tua's numbers against the blitz actually aren't that bad this year, but we know he struggles with pressure, and Tua hasn't been all that great this year. So I'm not suggesting that Tua's going to piece up the Falcons defense or anything like that, but if he has run support, Tua does have a tendency to get the ball out quickly. I don't think it's crazy that the Dolphins are able to move the ball a little bit in this game. I think both offenses could have some success in this one, so I'm considering an over. Problem is, I expect most of the success to be on the ground, so the clock should continue rolling, and neither team moves at a particularly fast pace, so that could definitely kill an over, but 44.5, I was considering an over bet here, 44.5. I would probably lean Atlanta at a flat 7. I would need 6.5 to bet it, though. Bills, Panthers, and Carolina, and this is crazy to say. We've got a battle on this side of the ball, and the side of the ball I'm referring to, for those listening, Buffalo's offense against Carolina's defense. This is a battle. This Panthers defense is for real, especially at home. On the season, the Panthers are 2nd in success rate, 17th in EPA per play. Buffalo, as we know, can definitely move the football. Look specifically at their 3 home games here. They played Atlanta, Miami, Dallas, so it's not like they played scrub team. Well, maybe Miami a little bit, but Atlanta's got a good offense. Dallas has one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. In their 3 home games, they're allowing 17 points per game, 5.4 yards per play, 40.2% success rate. And look at their numbers against the run. Where did this come from? In the last 4 games, the Carolina Panthers are allowing less than 60 rushing yards per game, 3.05 yards per carry, 15.5. 15.5% success rate per rush over a 4-game span. I don't even know if I've ever even seen anything like that before. This Panthers defensive front is dominant against the run right now. And we know Buffalo is an offense that wants to run the ball. And we saw New England take the run away from Buffalo, 4.1 yards per carry, 31% success rate per rush in that. Was that a Monday Night Football? I think that was a Sunday Night Football game It was a primetime game. I forget what it was. But on the road at New England, we saw the Patriots take the run away from Buffalo. Now, Josh Allen was still able to make some throws in the game, but when your offense is put into a position like that where you're forced to be one-dimensional and you don't get those 2nd and 3s, those 2nd and shorts, all it takes is one mistake to stall a drive, one sack, one penalty, and we saw it on the road in New England. In New England, it was a little bit of turnovers, but we saw the Patriots take the run away from Buffalo, and the offense was struggling. They were moving the ball. It's Josh Allen. He was still able to make throws, but this is an offense that wants to run the football, and if you're able to take that away from them, this Buffalo offense can definitely look mortal, as we've seen in recent weeks. Now, in terms of Josh Allen throwing the ball, I mean, Carolina doesn't have much of a pass rush. Josh Allen from a clean pocket is a monster. It's tough to make a case for Josh Allen not making throws on this defense, and I'm not implying that at all. I'm just implying that Carolina might be capable of taking the runaway. And you know who else has a terrible pass defense so far this year? New England. And they took the runaway and they were able to grab the win. So this Carolina defense, especially at home, it's a unit that demands respect. Josh Allen might be missing a couple of his receiving weapons in this one. Joshua Palmer's been ruled out. Dalton Kincaid is listed as questionable. He has been participating in practice, so I think he's going to play. I don't think it really matters. Josh Allen should be able to make throws in this game regardless, but we saw the Dallas Cowboys have one of, if not the most explosive offense in the NFL so far this year. They've been running the ball. They've been throwing the ball. Week 6, they went on the road to Carolina, and we saw exactly what the Patriots did to the Bills. The Cowboys couldn't run the ball at all in that game, and Dak Prescott was still able to make throws, but 5.6 yards per play, 44.2% success rate. That's Dallas offensive numbers on the road in Carolina. I mean, that's their worst game so far. They're hanging 40 points on everybody. So I do think there's a path to Carolina's defense giving Buffalo's offense some problems. In fact, we've kind of seen this Buffalo offense stuttering a little bit. So I don't think we can sleep on this Panthers defense right now. And on the other side of the ball, I don't know where this came from, but on paper, Carolina has the most efficient run game in the NFL. First in success rate, second in EPA per rush so far this year. What is Buffalo's weakness defensively? It has been for a couple years now, stopping the run. 24th and 29th. Look at the last 5 games here against Atlanta, New England, Miami, Dallas, New York Jets. Over 165 rushing yards per game, 5.3 yards per carry, over 48% success rate per rush. This Buffalo Bills defense is dealing with some injuries. Daquan Jones, their star defensive tackle, not playing in this game. Taylor Rapp is on the IR. Also a couple questionables at linebacker, Milano and Bernard, although they have been participating in practice, so I believe they're both going to play. But yeah, Carolina should be able to run the ball in this game because Carolina's running the ball on everybody. Now, we do have to talk about the quarterback situation. It does look like Bryce Young's not going to play. Obviously, backup quarterback, this is significant, but aside from the quarterback, this Carolina Panthers offense is way healthier than it has been for most of the season. Remember, center Austin Corbett missed a few games. Taylor Moton, the right tackle, is it Moton or Moton? I've heard it said both ways. But he missed a couple games. He's back. Jalen Coker is back off the IR. Jatavion Sanders, the tight end, he's back. He missed a couple games. Chuba Hubbard missed a couple games. He's back. So, yes, Bryce Young being out, that is significant. But in terms of the rest of the offense, they're way healthier than they have been for most of the season. And how much of a drop-off in production are we expecting from the quarterback position here? It's not like Bryce Young has set the world on fire. He's got an 85-2 passer rating. He hasn't been terrible or anything, and I'm sure there is a drop-off, but how much of a drop-off are we expecting? It's not like the Panthers are getting a ton of production out of the quarterback position. So Carolina should be able to run the ball. This Bills defense has looked vulnerable. Yeah, I think the Panthers can move the football in this game. I don't think this number should be 7. I think this should be 6.5 or lower. I did bet the Panthers in this one. And on top of all of that, look at the spot. The Bills have this road game against the Carolina Panthers, an NFC team. They immediately play the Chiefs in one of the biggest games of the year after that. And then right after that, they go on the road to Miami, a division game. So maybe a bit of a flat spot for the Bills. I bet this one, like I said, I'm on the Panthers plus 7.5 in this one. I'd still bet it at 7. Cleveland's on the road in New England. Shout out to Dylan Gabriel getting his first NFL win in what was a dominant game for the Browns. 31-6 was the final score. As somebody who bet the Browns, I was certainly appreciative of it. So shout out to Dylan Gabriel. Gets his first career win. I got to say, it was probably the most favorable situation for Cleveland that an NFL team has ever been put in. They were at home in nasty weather. The strength of the Browns is the defensive line. The Dolphins have a battered, injured offensive line with a quarterback that struggles in bad weather. with terrible run defense. It was probably the most favorable situation a team has ever been put in. But still, shout out to the Browns for the big 31-6 win. Don't let that 31 on the scoreboard fool you, though. Let's not pretend like this Browns offense looked good. Judkins broke a couple of runs, but for the most part, they were not moving the ball. They averaged 4.4 yards per play, 34% success rate. So they scored 31 points, but by no means do our concerns for the Cleveland offense disappear. I don't have much faith in this Cleveland offense at all. That being said, I don't know how good I think this Patriots defense is either. I mean, they're certainly good against the run. In fact, probably a top 5 run defense, maybe even a top 3 run defense. But this secondary is scaring the hell out of me. They're 30th in success rate per dropback on the season. We've seen this team consistently thrown on. The Patriots have won 4 games in a row, but certainly not because of the secondary. That's for sure. We just saw Cam Ward have his most efficient day as an NFL quarterback last week against New England. This is crazy. A 92-2 passer rating, 255 yards. Solid day for Cam Ward. His most efficient day, like I said, as an NFL quarterback. And what's crazy is this is actually New England's best defensive performance against the pass of the year is this. And this is actually a pretty decent game for Cam Ward. Now, we do have to give New England a little bit of credit. They switched to heavy zone coverage in the second half, and it seemed to help. They did a much better job in the second half, but we saw Cam Ward dropping back, standing in the pocket, delivering strikes on this Patriots secondary. This New England team can't seem to cover anybody for more than 2.5 seconds. It was just one game, no big deal. Every single defense plays a bad game, but I mean, like I said, that was actually New England's best defensive performance against the pass this year. In the 6 games before the Tennessee game, they're allowing 62.9% success rate per dropback. This defense just can't get off the field. 8.3 yards per pass attempt, an average opponent passer rating of 103.5. So this Patriots pass defense is a concern. Early in the season, we're like, they just need Christian Gonzalez back. Well, he's been back for several games now. Doesn't seem to be getting better. So I don't have a lot of faith in this Patriots secondary. The question is, do we trust Dillon Gabriel to exploit it? Now, Cam Ward was able to exploit it, but Cam Ward and Dillon Gabriel, 2 very different quarterbacks. So far, what we've seen from Stefanski in this Browns offense with Dillon Gabriel at quarterback, quick releases. The ball's out of Dillon Gabriel's hands almost immediately, and what we've seen this New England defense struggle with is quarterbacks dropping back in the pocket and delivering throws, letting routes develop. It's not what Cleveland does. That's not what we've seen from Dillon Gabriel. I mean, that's not even what we saw from Dillon Gabriel at Oregon. He's always kind of been a dink and dunk type of passer. So I don't know if Dillon Gabriel is capable of exploiting it. I mean, he has the talent, but it's just not the type of offense that Cleveland wants to run and not the type of offense we've seen from Cleveland this year. So it's interesting. Do we think Dillon Gabriel can exploit what every single other quarterback has been exploiting that played the Patriots so far this year? I mean, Jack Conklin's healthy. That's huge. Jerry Jeudy is healthy. He was listed as questionable earlier in the week. Jerry Jeudy really hasn't had a breakout game yet this year based on what we've seen from the New England secondary so far this season. This might be the perfect game for him to break out. The Browns are going to have to come out of their comfort zone offensively if they want to move the ball and compete in this game. The Patriots are really strong in the box. They've been elite against the run. Like I said before, this might be top 2 or 3 run defense in the NFL. In their last 3 games, they're allowing 3.59 yards per carry, under 77 rushing yards per game, 30.3% success rate per rush. In fact, I read New England is the only team in the NFL that has not allowed a 50-yard rusher. So, I mean, if Cleveland's going to try to hand the ball off to Judkins here on the road in Foxborough, I'd have to say, based on what we've seen so far, that's not going to happen. So Dillon Gabriel is going to have to deliver some throws from the pocket. We know he's talented. He's an accurate thrower. It's not what we've seen from the Cleveland offense so far. So Cleveland's going to have to come out of their comfort zone. Now, on the other side of the ball, we have the strengths for both these teams, obviously. New England's offense, Drake May, looks excellent, but Cleveland's one of the best defenses in the NFL, and that's pretty widely regarded. 3rd in success rate, 3rd in EPA per play. I got to say, I still think Drake May can make throws on this Cleveland defense. Obviously, we have to talk about the Browns' pass rush. They're always an elite pass rush. They're 4th in time to pressure on the year, which is pretty on brand for the Cleveland Browns. But Drake May's been one of the most efficient passers in the NFL when facing adversity so far this year. He's got excellent numbers under pressure. He's got excellent numbers against the blitz. He's got excellent numbers from a clean pocket. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So at home, I still think Drake May's able to make throws on this Browns defense. And this New England offensive line has actually done a decent job in pass protection too. I know they've given up some sacks, but a lot of them have come from Drake May holding on to the football too long. I mean, in terms of the offensive line's numbers, they're 4th in time to pressure allowed, 2nd in PFF pass pocket grade. The pass protection's actually been okay. They've given up sacks, but it's mostly because Drake May's held on to the football, which obviously could be a problem against Cleveland, but like I said, I still think he can make throws against this Browns defense. We know we're probably going to see a lot of man coverage from the Browns. They're 6th in man coverage frequency, 3rd in single high safety frequency. Drake May, one of the most efficient throwers in the NFL against man coverage this year, 142.8 passer rating against man coverage, 10.3 yards per attempt. Look, I'm not expecting New England to put up 45 points in this game. Cleveland's pass rush is great. I'm sure they're able to disrupt some plays. They've also got an elite run defense. New England hasn't really been able to efficiently run the ball. I'm not saying it's just going to be smooth sailing and they're going to light the scoreboard up, but I do think Drake May is able to have himself a good game at home against Cleveland. I'm thinking the Patriots can score points in this one. So I lean New England -7. I also don't hate an over here. Like I said, I think New England can get the ball in the end zone a few times. And Cleveland, I don't trust the Patriots secondary. I think Jerry Jeudy could have his best game of the year. Cleveland also has been throwing the ball a lot. They move at a quick pace. So I think this one gets over 40.5 too. I didn't bet this game, but it's New England -7, over 40.5 for me here. Thanks for watching. Like I said before, the live stream's at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all the games. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. I'll be in the Discord all day hanging out. For those of you that want to come hang, yeah, bet responsibly.